And this next topic is, of course, we like to call this stuff politics, but politics is just entertainment at this point. Because the two guys we got going at it right now, and let's be clear, there's only two. Respectfully to everybody else, there's only two that we want to talk about, and that is Biden and Trump. Nobody else is really being talked about, so we don't really bring them up as often. But as you can see, Trump has been in the news, and he has been in the courtroom, and of course, it's not stopping for him. I don't know what it is with Trump. I don't know what it is. I'd really like to know. I'd really like to know what is going on in his daily life. What does a day in the life like in Trump's perspective look like? I would like to know. I'm not even gonna lie to you because at this point he's entertaining. He's entertained us. He's still leading in the polls. They're trying to get him off. They're trying to get him off polls and ballots, and it's like some of this stuff is working. Some of the stuff's just completely not working. So we gonna see what ends up happening. But Trump speaks out following the appeal court session. So this is the video that we gonna look over, and we gonna try to break this down, and we gonna talk about it. Let's see what they gotta say, man. Matter of fact, I'm gonna just skip right to Trump's part because as much as I like to see what this guy's saying, I don't really care.
Major opponent who's leading in all the polls in the country. The issues that the court acts a prior administration when in fact that candidate, and that cannot happen.
Trump.
But when it's not, when it's President Trump, then they're taking, and we open the Pandora's box to political, and we open the Pandora's box to political prosecution after political prosecution after political prosecution. I'd like to introduce President Trump.
All right, there we
I
go.
want to thank you all, and we had
There we go.
very momentous day in terms of what was learned and what they've conceded. They conceded two major points that were they were right in doing it. I don't think they had much of a choice, but they're very, very big, very powerful points. And I think we're doing very well. I think it's very unfair when a political opponent, is prosecuted by the DOJ, by Biden's DOJ. So they're losing in every poll. They're losing in almost every demographic. Numbers came out today that are really very mind-boggling if you happen to be Joe Biden. And I think they feel this is the way they're going to try and win. And that's not the way.
They just be talking trash to each other like all day long. It's never stopping. They love talking trash to each other. They be taking little jabs here and there, like, yo, Joe Biden, you dusty. Trump, you got orange hair. Oh, Joe Biden fell off a bike the other day. Oh, Trump, he doesn't wear anything else besides the red tie and the blue jacket. He has no fashion statement.
It goes, that'll be bedlam in the country. It's a very bad thing. It's a very bad precedent. As we said, it's the opening of a Pandora's box, and that's a very sad thing that's happened with this whole situation. When they talk about threat to democracy, that's your real threat to democracy. And I feel that as a president, you have to have immunity. Very simple.
Well, this is something that I really want to talk about here, though. He feels as if The president of the United States should have immunity. As long as he is the president, he has the right to have immunity regardless of the situation, regardless of what he did, who he ordered to kill who, um, what he said. It don't matter. They should have immunity because just simply because they are the president of the United States. And I don't know if I agree with that. I'll be honest with you. I don't know if I agree with that. I think that everybody should obviously be held accountable for their actions. And if the president of the United States does some egregious stuff, he deserves to be held accountable just as if a regular pedestrian had done a crime. They should be held accountable for their actions. It's just that simple. But he's saying just because he's the president of the United States, he should be allowed immunity, which to me is crazy. I think that would allow future presidents to be able to get away with some wild stuff. If that is the case, I mean, they're already getting away with wild stuff, but like this, we want our presidents to be good people at the same time. We don't want our presidents to be criminals. That's not what we trying to have here. But let's continue.
And if you don't, as an example, if this case were
What's up, Ray Games, my guy?
lost on immunity, and I did nothing wrong, absolutely nothing wrong. I'm working for the country, and I worked on very hard on voter fraud because we have to have free elections. We have to have strong borders. We have to have free elections. Those two things, almost above all. And we found tremendous voter fraud. We have a list of it. We have some findings if you want it.
But why is Trump still thinking that there is fraud when he is leading in all the polls? I don't understand. I think at this point there is more fraud in politics than there is in voting. I mean, voting is politics, yes, but I mean, like the stuff he's going through right now, that could be considered fraud if it's being backed by the president. But him not being able to, I mean, he's leading in every poll, every state that he's went to, they are choosing him. I guess they're fighting in New Hampshire, but besides that, he's doing his thing. He's doing his thing. Let's be clear. There's only two. There's only two. Nobody's talking about the rest of the people. The rest of the people, we gonna forget their name come June. June, we gonna be just talking about Trump and Biden. Trump
Doesn't like reporting
and
it. We
Biden.
found tremendous voter fraud, determinative voter fraud. But we worked on that. That's what I was doing. And they were talking about after. Well, nothing has to do with after I left. It was during the time. And that was what they really focused on today during the appeal. And they concede that, and everybody concedes that. And if it's during the time, you have absolute immunity. So we'll see how it all works out. We have a great argument. We have an argument with they conceded two major points today. In fact, I think it's probably a concession. You have to ask the lawyers, Todd, if you'd like to talk about it. But they conceded 2 points that I think were, by normal standards, if it weren't me, that would be the end of this case. But sometimes they look at me differently than they look upon others, and that's very bad for our country. You had a very big event yesterday, as you saw in Georgia, where the district attorney is totally compromised. The case has to be dropped. They went after.
He's just been going through it. He looks like he's a little defeated. A little bit, just a little bit, which I feel kind of bad for him sometimes. I mean, he might be, like I said, he's one of those. I said this last stream. He's one of those. He's very strange. You don't know what side he's on sometimes, but He's been going through it lately, and he looks a little defeated.
I guess 18 or 20 people. They wanted to go after a lot of other people. They wanted to go after senators. She was out of her mind. Now it turns out that that case is totally compromised. In fact, they say she's in far more criminal liability than any of the people she's looking at. So I think that when you look at what happened, where they pay a lawyer with absolutely no experience $700,000 who happens to be her lover or her boyfriend, and then they go on trips and vacations together, very expensive vacations together. And the reason they paid him so much because he was after me, because this way they can afford to pay him a lot more. Probably passes certain tests. And that's a very sad thing that happened in Georgia. And I would imagine that case is going to be dropped. Every legal analyst that I've spoken to, every legal analyst that I've read have said that case is so compromised now it has to be dropped. Very good people were very badly hurt by that case. It's a shame. Very good people. People did nothing wrong. They did nothing different than what Democrats have been doing for years and years and years. Whether
He had to just mention Democrats because, those are his rivals. Honestly, these guys is like gangs too. Can we talk about it? These Republicans, these Democrats are straight up like gangs too. If you don't rock with them, they gonna try to take you out. If it's not their way, it's the highway. They can never get along. And I'm pretty sure that bodies have gone missing because of it. And this is politics. They're like gangs. You can't tell me different.
slates or anything else that you're talking about. But they were very hurt, and it turns out that she profited tremendously in that case. It's illegal. What she did is illegal. So we'll let the state handle that. But what a sad situation it is. I want to thank everybody for the fairness. We've been covered very fairly. Most people agree that we're entitled as a president to immunity. If you didn't have
Yes, I agree. They have been given the trial. They have been given fair play. The news, some news channels, you could tell which ones are anti-Trump. Cause I seen some titles that were like, "Oh, Trump brutally came out and said this after appeal." Oh, Trump stormed out of the Supreme Court House after appeal. I'm like, what is the point? I understand you trying to get some clickbait, but nah, man. Like, give us the real deal. Give us what really happened.
immunity, as an example, Joe Biden with the prosecutor, we're not going to give you $1 billion unless you get rid of the prosecutor. That's after the company or son or whoever it is they're after. But he wanted that prosecutor gone, and he's on tape saying it. Or you could say the horrible job he's done at the border, where our country is being destroyed, or the horrible.
You know, the first thing Trump is gonna do when if he gets back into the president's seat, he's going for all of y'all immigrants. He's sending all y'all back home. He's gonna do it like ISIS. Is that what they call it? They're gonna not ISIS, ICE. They're gonna do it like ICE. They're gonna get them all, and they're gonna arrest them all, and they're gonna send them back in planes, planefuls. They're just gonna tell them hop back on the plane and go back home. And it's a little unfortunate for them if he does do that. That's the honest truth. Because they're just trying to look for a better life at the end of the day. They're just trying to look for a better life. It's the Americas. Who doesn't want the American dream? Who doesn't want the American dream? That's why he goes so hard for this country. Let's continue.
Situation that took place. The lowest moment, I think, in the history of our country was Afghanistan, the way we withdrew. Not that we withdrew, but the way we withdrew. with shame, we surrendered. People killed, 13 great soldiers killed, many unbelievably, horrifically hurt, wounded, hurt. And hundreds of people died on both sides. Hundreds of people died. We could be prosecuted for that. So you can't have a president without immunity. You have to have, as a president, you have to be able to do your job. But if this didn't work out, if I wasn't given immunity, then other presidents, when we talked about today, President Obama with the drone strikes, which were really bad, they were mistakes, terrible mistakes.
He keeps bringing up this drone strike thing up. I'm not really sure what he's talking about, but I'd like to learn a little bit about that drone strike that he's talking about. What did President Obama do with a drone, sir?
You really can't put a president in that position. So I think most people understand it, and we feel very confident that eventually, hopefully at this level, but eventually we win. A president has to have immunity. And the other thing is, I did nothing wrong. We did nothing wrong. The investigation of the election, which was a rigged election, everybody knows it. And just to
Does the president need to have immunity? I kind of disagree. I gotta say that it depends on the situation. That's all I can say. Depends on the
just look at, they
situation.
didn't use state legislatures. They didn't. They went to the FBI, and you look at FBI and Twitter, the Twitter files with the FBI, all of the horrible things, FISA, the FISA court, the signed documents, the lying to Congress, and the stuffing of the ballot boxes, all on tape. Stuffing of ballot boxes, all on tape. Government tape. And most of the information, as you know, we'll give you some of the findings that just came out. But all of that information, as you know, was gotten from mostly government sources, government tapes, government files, and government stats. So it's very sad when something like that happens. You know, you wouldn't have inflation, but much more importantly, you wouldn't have had the Ukraine situation with Russia. You wouldn't have had the attack on Israel. You'd have a much different economy right now. You'd have a great economy, and we would be respected all over the world the way we were just 3 years ago. So I want to.
That's tough. Another shot thrown. Another arrow. Bang. That's to the Democrat camp. He said we would have been in a better position economically. We would have been in a better position war wise. We would have been in a better position with our borders. And we would have been respected as a country like we were 3 years ago. Mic drop. Thank you, Democrats. That's pretty much what he said. And uh, I remember 3 years ago, maybe we were in a better position economically, but I remember gas prices going crazy. I remember COVID going crazy. And that was also handled pretty poorly by the Republicans. Let's continue.
Thank everybody very much, and we think we had a very good day today. The concession of these two major points was pretty amazing, and honestly, I'm very glad they did it. I think they did the right thing. Thank you very much.
Mr. President, you just used.
He's not speaking to you guys. He's not gonna speak to you guys. Well, that was dope. I'm always gonna say it. I can't wait to see how this thing ends up turning out to be. There's clearly only two. And it's either gonna be between President Trump or President Biden. I don't know exactly who's going to get it. I don't know who I'm going to be voting for, but you know, we'll see when the time comes near. At this point, don't look like I'm voting at all.